All right. I'm going to wait just a minute here to see if anyone shows up for the live stream. Yeah. All right. How do I share this thing? I didn't advertise this anywhere either. Should have done that maybe. Well, I'm not going to belabor it too much, actually. I think that I'm just going to get right into it. And people can just watch it later. Okay, so on this channel, I have been warning people as much as I can that the people who are in charge are incompetent or evil, or some medley of both, I would say. And we have these great giant systems that we think that we can count on and depend on. And I'm saying we can't. We think that we can, but we can't. I'm going to elaborate on that just a little bit more. But the recent incident in East Palestine, Ohio, is really a case in point. What I'm showing you there is a picture that I saw on Twitter. This is a pilot's view looking down after they set the plume of chemicals on fire. I believe that was the sequence. And I don't know about you, but that looks pretty ominous. In fact, people when they first saw it, they thought that it was. It looked like a mushroom cloud, right? And it's really weird, in my opinion, that they're saying that everything is safe right now. The water is safe, the air is safe, and all these other things. And it just makes you wonder if they can unleash that amount of toxins in the atmosphere, and it's already completely safe after a day or two. Then what do we need the EPA for? What do we need all this environmental stuff for? Because this stuff must not be that bad, right? If it just dissipates really quickly. You could set these off, 500 times a day across the country, and what's the big deal? In other words, I don't really believe the tests, or something's not right there. I mean, I'm not running the tests. People are getting sick, so the proof is in the pudding, and they're saying that the tests are coming back clean, but animals are dying, fish are dying, and people are getting ill. So, what do you think is happening? I mean, that's kind of rhetorical, right? I'm not asking anyone to give me their opinion here. Um, in other words, they can give their assurances all that they want, but if someone tells you that the air and water is safe and you're still getting sick, you got to get the hell out of there. If the experts say that you should do such and such, but you see around you, regardless of what the experts say, you see all around you, fish are dying and chickens are dying or whatever, you got to get the hell out of there. Okay. When I say that we're all on our own, this is what I mean. You have to be prepared to act on the evidence of your own eyes and your willingness to evaluate the facts on the ground on your own. And if you're not willing to do that, you could die. Not right here in modern America, 2023, any given day, you could die just because you listened to the experts. I'm not there. I live, a distance from this, and I'm upwind. I'm not too concerned about this particular incident. I mean, like intimately, but I live near enough to train tracks. Something like this could happen, and if the experts tell me that everything's all right. But I look up in the sky and I see a mushroom cloud. You know what? I'm not waiting around. I don't care what the experts say. I'm out of there. Which really raises a kind of an interesting family dynamic because I believe this kind of stuff, but my wife thinks I'm a little woo. um, but I showed her this, and I might convince her to put together a bug out bag. Of course, I already have one for myself. Um, at any rate, we have to take these things really serious because depending on the level that you want to look at this, it's really obvious and self-evident that we're on our own. I mean, let's just start from the bottom up, okay? You're in your home, someone breaks into your house. You're going to call 911. And what's the response time where you live? For me it's like 15 minutes. So I can call 911, but there's about 15 minutes where I better be ready to bridge the gap, to act um, independently in that situation. And I would have to say that for almost every person in America, the response time, if someone's like in your home, the response time is going to be greater than the risk that you face, whatever you're going to have to deal with. So whether it's a minute or 15 minutes like me, there will be a period of time where you're going to have to act. You will be on your own. All right. Now you can work your way up from there. There's, things that can happen. There's car wrecks, house on fire. And as you go up the chain, you will find that, yeah, we have governmental institutions. There are police, there's fire, there are response teams, but there's always this period of time where you have to act on the evidence of your own eyes. And you might have to also be um, taking into account the health and well-being of your family as well. So it's not just you got to get out of harm's way. It's your own kids. And the problem is the further you up this chain now, uh, the more that it becomes doubtful whether or not our government has any interest whatsoever in coming to the aid of their citizens. They're, the individual members of a government might, certain individual members of a bureaucracy, right? But the bureaucracies themselves they're just things. They're just an arrangement of people, and they can't act on their own. And they always say the same thing, bureaucrats, right? I can't do these things. I have to do with whatever the procedures are and protocols, blah blah blah. And that's just not going to help you in if you are facing imminent death. Okay, and the East Palestine situation shows that vividly. It shows that when you get to a certain level, there is no point. There's no good reason whatsoever for hoping that the authorities are going to bail you out. And so that is not a very high, very far up the chain. That is that's the state level to begin with. The local community, I'm sure, did all right, and I'm going to return to that in a minute or two. The firefighters came, uh, they did their thing to put the fire out and contain it and all that other thing, and they were Johnny on the spot. You can count on them. Yeah, there was a response time issue, but they did their job. But then the job went even beyond what they could do, and it fell to the powers even above them. And then now we have chaos, right? People who don't care about the citizens, people who don't care about the members of the community in the same way that members of the community care about the community. And then you go up, and we get to um, the level of the federal level, and the EPA has said that this does not qualify. The East Palestine thing does not qualify as a disaster. Okay, whatever. But it just goes to show us that you can't count on help when things way outside your control wreak havoc on your world. It's your family, first and foremost, and then maybe if you're lucky and you're smart and you develop and um, try to get your community to be more tight knit. That's as far as you go. Your community. After that, we're just toast. It's just all there is to it. And examples like this are numerous. It's not just this. There's been examples ever since I've started really paying attention, which I started when I was a young man, around age 25, roughly. That's roughly how old I was when 9/11 happened. At any rate, we have another illustration of that. The balloons, right? The balloons. Let me, well, I have it on the screenshot image, right? Picture of them shooting down the balloons. So this is really funny, the balloon incident. So China managed to get a balloon all across the country, spy balloon, and apparently they're saying that they knew about it always since China, and that's supposed to comfort you somehow. But then they proceeded to shoot down 3 other things, and this is interesting because evidence is coming out that the 3 things that they shot down were not threats at all. A hobby balloon, maybe some weather balloons, commercial stuff, and they shot them down anyway. And what does this tell us? What does this whole thing tell us? Many things. One, it tells us that they were not aware, that our government is not aware, or certainly was not, we'll say past tense, of what is in our airspace at any given time, unless it's like a fighter jet or a nuclear rocket, I guess. But balloons, or who knows what's been going on up there. Who knows what could potentially have happened this entire time, and we dodged a bullet, as it were. That's why when these other objects appeared, they had no idea what they were, because of course they hadn't been monitoring it, right? Because if they had been monitoring it, like they said they'd been monitoring it, then they would have known that these were just, you know, commercial or amateur things going on by clubs or whatnot, and they wouldn't have felt compelled to shoot them down. But they had to shoot them down because they didn't know, and that is revealing. It's also revealing, of course, that they went and they shot these things down just simply based on political pressure. I mean, that's obviously what happened, right? They didn't like the heat that they took because of the China balloon thing, so they thought they would make up for it just by shooting anything out of the sky, and they didn't know what they were shooting out of the sky. So, I I don't know. Is it incompetence? I mean, you just scratch your head at this stuff. I mean, I know I do, but there's so much that we're never going to know, that we can't know, and there's so much that's going on. The bottom line, the takeaway is, you in your home right now have to conclude, you yourself have to realize that the people who are in charge, and I'm especially at the highest levels, they really don't know what they're doing. You cannot trust them for the safety of your own life or of your family. You just can't do it. And this is something that people don't want to hear. I mean, yeah, okay. There's a lot of preppers, of course, that I'm preaching to the choir with them, but it's a very small section of the population. Um, not sizable enough. If the population was big enough, then maybe possibly we could wrangle things under control. But people keep voting for these incompetent people, and that's what we get stuck with. So the the problem is is that while there are some threats that you can prepare for, you can try preparing for all of them. If you can't, you really can't. I mean, even if you're a billionaire, I bet you couldn't, because there's just so many different contingencies you would have to plan for. So this is why I would advise um, essentially a parallel economy, even if it's an informal one. Shop local, build local connections, make relationships with people in your community, and cultivate them and deepen them. Because if you find out that your family can't handle a crisis because it's just an overwhelming thing, you're going to need the help of other individuals in the community. And depending on the size and scope of the problem, you might need many, many families. And if you don't know who those people are and you don't have those connections already, what are you going to have? You're going to have this worthless government that we have. That's what you're going to have. And I don't know why you'd want that. So one of the things that I've done is that I have made efforts to attempt to make connections in my local community. And it's not as much as maybe would be ideal, but it's progress, and these things take time. You can't force it. Um, but I would definitely do that. So I'm gonna leave that there, but I wanted to highlight this Black Swan book. I've used this. You may have heard this before. You should be able to see that. Okay, just fine right there. Yep. Here, in fact, we'll do it like that. There you go. So I read this book quite a few years ago now. I actually study catastrophes and genocides. I know it's ridiculous, but that's what I do. And the value of this book, I think, is that it really reveals. Um, this is my opinion. Others might say something different, but it reveals the limitations that experts have, because our society has this fascination and attraction to relying on experts, and that's what's going on in the East Palestine thing, right? The experts say the air is clean. You're sick, but you obviously must be wrong, because the experts say that the air is clean. But the experts often get things wrong, and for a number of reasons that I'm not going to get into extensively here. Um, but when when you are actually looking at the history of the world as it is one unexpected calamity after another. Sometimes there are people who are predicting them, absolutely, but those people usually aren't getting listened to. No one listens to those people typically. Like no one listens to me, which is fine. I can live with that. I'm used to that. I am married after all. But the he has a great way of explaining just how common these uncommon incidents really are. And the context that he brings to it is the financial side of it, and not exclusively, mind you. But it's a very eye-opening book and a very important framework to understand it. And we've already lived through many black swans. 9/11 was a black swan event. The financial crisis 2008 was a black swan. COVID was a black swan. Those are big events, but then think about Little East Palestine. That's a black swan event for them too, right? Totally unexpected, totally changed their lives. But then was it really unexpected? Bunch of trains going through with a lot of chemicals and stuff. So maybe you couldn't go so far as to say that an incident there was improbable, but it was entirely plausible. And so everyone who lived in that area should have had a plan, right? And I think that's the takeaway. And I would recommend reading this book because, at least for me, my takeaway was you've got to take stock of your own situation, your financial situation, where you live, what kind of liabilities you have, what strengths and assets, and then you got to take the necessary precautions because you cannot count. You absolutely cannot count on your government to be there to bail you out. I mean, I that's tragic. I know we pay trillions of dollars in taxes every year, and we get crap. We get crap in return, and it doesn't matter whether it's a Republican or Democrat because the president or even in Congress, it doesn't even matter because bureaucracies are the bureaucracies, and bureaucracies are practically useless. You know, so I don't want to dwell on it too much more than what I just did. But it's just like what I said in the thumbnail. I told you so. And for the people in East Palestine, who, of course, none of them are subscribers, I'm sure. None of them will ever know about me. But a black swan could happen right in your own backyard at any time. You just can't predict it. You just can't predict when a balloon's going to go over your head and drop God knows what over on top of you that our government doesn't find out. Name your catastrophe. It could happen. So, um, for the people of East Palestine, I told you so. I guess I know that you weren't listening. Never heard of me. That's fine. But for the rest of you, whoever does listen to this, you want to get ahead of the curve. All right, that's all I have to say tonight. Thanks for watching when you get around to watching. Appreciate it. This is Philosopher King 2.0. Until next time.